everyone. Today I want to present about my paper. But before it, let me introduce myself first. My name is Amelia Putrilanel Sinaga with student register number 200705004. I am English literature student at University of Sumatera Utara. Well, my paper explain about linguistic typology from three linguists and their own theory. First linguist is Johannes Smith, and the second is Wilhelm von Humboldt, and the last is William Alexander Stewart. Okay, so without any further ado, let's start it to introduction first. Linguistic typology or language typology is the study the ways of classify the human languages into different types based on their patterns. So it means all over the human languages in this world will classify it into different types based on their patterns. And then the most common classificatory criteria for classify the human languages are morphological or word structure, and then syntactic, phonological or sound patterns, and the last is semantic or meaning patterns. And then we move to part of discussion. First topic is from Johannes Smith's theory. Johannes Smith was a German linguist. He developed the Wellen theory, or in English is wave theory, of language development. This theory emerged because Smith did disagree with the family tree theory. He assumed boundaries between descendants of Proto-Indo-European languages are constantly shifting because linguistic innovation spread like waves, never stopping at exactly the same limits. The theory was directed against the doctrine of sound laws introduced by the neo-grammarians in 1970. This theory, the medium through which waves travel is spoken language and its phonology. It means a phoneme from the word materialized in the articulations of language speakers. So it is a scheme of transformation of Proto-Indo-European language. The sound change of wave theory can analyze with comparative method. As we can see from the picture of Proto-Indo-European, there are three languages from Proto-Indo-European. First is Sanskrit, and the second is Latin, and then the last is English. As we can see from the scheme, for example, the sound p is reconstructed into these three languages. In Sanskrit language, p still p sounds. Word is pitar, and then move into Latin language. The sounds p still the sounds p. For example, is pater. But in English language, the p sounds change into fricative sounds. That is of. The word is father. And then the wave theory of linguistic typology has been influential in the study of language contact and language change. It provides a useful framework for understanding how languages evolve over time and how they are influenced by other languages in their environment. And then we move to second topic from Wilhelm von Humboldt's theory. Essentially, two major lines of tradition in 19th century typology can be distinguished. The one initiated by the Kegels, almost exclusively based on morphology, which aims at the establishment of genetic relationships. The other, associated with Wilhelm von Humboldt and others, which emphasize linguistics, diversity, and classifies languages according to morphological syntactic types. This theory called morphological theory because It takes the morphological structure of words as the classifying feature. This theory was subsequently refined by Wilhelm von Humboldt, who is also credited with the view that the structure of language is influenced by the word view of its speakers. He added the fourth morphological type to Schegel's taxonomy, namely the incorporating languages. And then the next subtopic, still in the Humboldt's theory, is the classification of languages based on the change directional view. First is isolating languages. Isolating languages, such as Chinese and Vietnamese, words are morphologically unanalyzable, in which each linguistic unit that carries many meaning words are composed of single morphemes. And then the second is syntactic language. Syntactic language is languages in which a word tends to consist of more than one morpheme. English is a mildly syntactic language, while older Indo-European languages like Latin, Greek, and Sanskrit are highly syntactic. These languages have plenty of inflection, derivation, and compounding. And then there is extremely synthetic languages, where words are very complex and sometimes constitute entire clauses with extensive use of inflection, derivation, and compounding. These languages are called polysynthetic language. Polysynthetic language are primarily found among Eskimo or Inuktitut and American Indian languages, as well as a few languages in Siberia, in northern Caucasus, and Australia. Syntactic language can be divided into functional and agglutinative languages. In agglutinating languages, each morpheme usually has a single function and words can consist of many morphemes. And agglutinating language, example Turkish, Japanese, Tamil, and Kannada, is one in which the word forms can be segmented into morphs, each of which represents a single grammatical category. In such a language, words can consist of many morphemes. Turkish is a good example of an agglutinative language. In this language, the word evlerimde means in my houses and consists of the following morphemes. Ev is house, and ler is plural, im is my, and de is in. In functional languages, affixes can combine functions. In the Spanish, for example, word hablo, it means he spoke, or simultaneously indicates both the past tense and the third person singular subject. And the last is an inflecting language. Inflecting language, where a single word includes a number of units of meaning, but one cannot assign these meaning units to distinct proportion of the words. Example, Sanskrit language, classical Greek, and Latin. For example, in Latin language, suffix is represents the combination of categories singular and genitive in the word form homonis of the man in English, but one part of the suffix cannot be assigned to singular and another to genitive, and suffix is only one of many suffixes that in different classes or declinations of words represent the combination of singular and genitive. And then the next topic is from William Alexander Stewart's theory. According to his book, An Outline of Linguistic Typology for Describing Multilingualism, such linguistic problems include those widespread illiteracy, the lack of standardized national language. Linguistic problems such as this can and do occur in areas with linguistic uniformity and diversity alike. Almost every administrative, technical, or pedagogical program which has been undertaken in order to deal with multilingualism has met with this problem. For example, there have been cases where the speakers of one language have resisted being taught some other one because of a feeling that the second language less appropriate for general use. Or there have been other cases where individuals have preferred to devote their efforts towards attaining fluency in some languages or the second language other than their native language, because the second language was regarded by them as being more worthy than their native language. Languages may be differentiated into types in terms of four attributes, which demonstrate a consistent tendency to affect social attitudes toward them. In Stewart's theory, there are 7 language types. First is standard language. A standard language is a living language which has been standardized and which is regularly used as a general height language. An example of this language is English. English, as it is spoken or written by most educated users of the language. A classical, or with the symbol C, is a standard language of a former time, which is no longer a living language, but which is regularly used as a height language, either general height or limited height. For example of classical language is Latin, Greek, Sanskrit, and Hebrew. Well, the next language type is vernacular languages with the symbol V. Vernacular languages are usually learned as first language or native language, although in some cases they may be informally acquired as second language by individuals. Due to the lack of formalized grammars and lexicon, vernacular languages are almost always ranked lower in prestige than standard or classical language because vernacular in general have not been standardized. Most tribal languages of Africa and the Americas are vernacular types. So also are many speech forms related to standard languages but which default having no formalized grammars of their own and functionally and structurally too. A dialect is a vernacular which usually a very close linguistic relationship to another language, whether standard, classical, or vernacular. For example is Yorkshire dialect or Egyptian colloquial Arabic. Because of their lack of standardization, vernacular languages are generally not used for formal writing. Of course, a vernacular may eventually become a standard through the gradual codification and acceptance of its grammar and lexicon. The next language type is a Creole. A Creole is a part of Pidgin language which has acquired a community of native speakers, which means that a community has given up all use of its original native language and use the former Pidgin exclusively as a vernacular. In short, a Creole may become a standard, differing from other standards only in its linguistic history. Okay, the next language types is artificial, symbolized with A. Is normally an artificial language has no native speakers, but it is not inconceivable that one could acquire some. In such a case, it would become a standard language. And the last types is marginal, which symbolize M. Marginal speech forms have much less of an established structure. Marginal languages have been quite common in colonial Asia and Africa as household languages because these languages developed between Europeans and their servants. Okay, the last part of this paper is conclusion. To sum up, I can conclude that Smith's theory can classify into phonological typology because it analyzes the sound change of Proto-Indo-European language, and the wave theory of linguistic typology has been influential in the study of language contact and language change. It provides a useful framework for understanding how languages evolve over time and how they are influenced by other languages in their environment. Then Humboldt's theory can classify into morphological typology because it takes the morphological structure of words as the classifying feature. The last but not least, Stewart's theory is linguistic typology for describing multilingualism and have developed a number of ways of categorizing languages according to their status and social functions. So this is the end of my presentation. If there are errors in pronunciation and in explaining this paper, please forgive me. I think that's all. Thank you.